Yes. Still colours back in the building. How's everyone? What's everyone saying? Me and Kay are back again.
Yes,
It's been
yes,
a while,
yes.
but we're back again with episode 3 of our If We Had to Pick series. Um, this time around, we've got something a little bit different. Obviously, the last 2 episodes, if you guys watched them, if you haven't, go watch them now.
Yeah.
We reviewed rap albums, but this time around, we've got 2 alternative R&B albums. Personally, these two, alternative R&B albums are 2 of my favorite albums of all time. And Kia, I know that you can sort of share that same sentiment.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
The 2 of the finest albums that have come out or that came out in the last decade. And these 2 albums that I'm referring to are Miguel's Kaleidoscope Dream and Frank Ocean's Channel Orange.
Yeah.
I mean, these 2 albums are literally, again, 2 of my favorite albums of all time. And I think these 2 albums definitely defied the early 2010s. And even to this day, like a lot of people call these 2 albums classics. Am I right, Kay?
Yeah, and I agree. I 100% share that sentiment.
And these 2 albums, I think what's great about them is that they stood the test of time.
Yeah.
I think they both came out in the same year, in 2012. So that was over like 9 years ago. But these 2 albums have definitely stood the test of time. And we're going to get into, we're going to sort of dive deep into both of these albums. Obviously, if you've watched this series before, we talk about 4 main categories. And these categories are the buzz, the sonics, the replay value, and the cultural impact. Without further ado, man, let's get into it.
Yes.
Buzz, just in terms of the buzz for both of these albums, like, who do you feel like had the bigger buzz? Channel Orange or Kaleidoscope Dream?
It's interesting. Obviously, Miguel's already come off creating his first debut album, which you probably will be the better one to speak about this because during that period of time as well, I got to Miguel late in comparison to you. You already heard the first album as well, which I think was the more sort of like R&B heavy, and then obviously Kaleidoscope Dream still keeps some of that, but he further explores his sonic territory. But with Frank Ocean, I've already like loads of people during that period of time in the 2010s, or I think it was 2011 when he released his mixtape. There was such a huge buzz in terms of what his album is going to be like, and also Odd Future doing, they were like one of the biggest sort of upcoming rap group as well, with Tyler Creators releasing Yonkers, especially with his mixtape, the internet, and all of those things going on together. So, what do you feel? What do you think about Miguel? How well was Miguel received on his first album, and what was the hype coming into his second? Because the only reason why I'm asking is because I want to sort of compare and contrast and sort of just both come to the conclusion of who had a bigger hype before these albums were released.
Okay. Yeah, so in reality, I think, Miguel, his first album was well received by a lot of people. But I think like he was still trying to figure like what sound he wanted to go for. So even though a lot of people did receive the first album well, certain people were still confused as to what sound was he gonna sort of like, not even what sound he was gonna go with in the future, but like you can just tell that this was an artist still trying to find himself. That makes sense. And at the time when he released All I Want Is You, there wasn't too much hype around it, if that makes sense.
Fanfare,
Yeah. Like when Frank Ocean dropped Nostalgia Ultra, it wasn't like that. Like, I don't really think any of his singles did well on the Billboard chart, or I don't even think they even tried it here. So, but then I can remember Thinking About You, which was on Nostalgia. Not Thinking About You, but Swim Good, which was on Nostalgia Ultra. I couldn't remember that song playing on the radio, playing on multiple stations on the radio in the UK. So obviously that just goes to show you like where those 2 artists were at that time. So I definitely think, like Miguel, he was making noise. He was making noise in the industry, but I don't think he I don't think like he really created that much of a buzz for himself until he got to the second album. Even when the second album dropped, it took a while for people to sort of catch on to Miguel. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Like I definitely feel like in regards to who had the bigger buzz, in my opinion, I don't even think it's even close. I think Frank definitely did.
Yeah, and it's quite surprising as well because I feel like the sort of sonic sounds and also his sonic identity has still stayed coming from Kaleidoscope Dreams. You get me? Like in loads of his album, you can still hear that sort of sonic identity sort of kept on from, and like you were saying, like he was still trying to find his sort of mainstay sound of what Miguel sort of sonically represents. So yeah, I can understand why you are saying that it is Frank Ocean has a bigger buzz, and I probably do agree with you. I mean, I can't like All I Want Is You, for example, was one of the hits. I'm not like you're saying. I can't remember what it charted on Billboard. I don't think it did too well in the UK. It might have been top 30 possibly. I think because it did have quite a spin. But yeah, Frank Ocean 100% with Novocaine. Obviously Swim Good. I think Thinking About You was also on the mixtape, but it came on the album as well. But I can't remember exactly. But I think, yeah, Frank Ocean probably did have the bigger buzz. And I do remember before his album coming out, loads of people were just hyped by it. So I think Frank Ocean, in terms of buzz, probably wins it.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty straightforward. Actually. Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned the stuff that Frank did with Future because a lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah,
it was, so he was somewhat already in I wouldn't say the public eye, but he was bubbling underground.
Yeah,
I mean, and if you look at like all of those, well, most of those artists that were in Odd Future, a lot of them have gone on to have very successful careers.
Yeah, it's true. And also to add on to that as well, like they all have grown as artists. You get me? Like they all sort of become better the longer they've done this as well. Like the Tyler the Creator of the old is a changed artist. Same thing with the internet as well, and the front run of the internet as well. And obviously Earl Sweatshirt. I think Earl Sweatshirt and Frank are probably the two artists that came out of the gate swinging and actually releasing good projects and good albums. While for some of them, even for Tyler Creator, I don't think his early stuff was any of that amazing, but over time he's sort of become that great artist. So yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, I think in terms of buzz, Frank Ocean, yeah.
So this next segment, we're going to be talking about the sonics of both of these albums. So getting straight into it, Kay, like just in terms of like the sonics for both of these two albums, I mean, like how similar and how different do you think these two albums are? Just in terms of like, the listening experience of both of these two albums, which one did you prefer?
Okay. In terms of how both these, how they differ in each other, I would say with Frank Ocean, there is elements of R&B, there's elements of soul, neo soul, and also with the other genres. While with Kaleidoscope Dream, there's elements of R&B again, of course, as well, but loads of like rock as well sprinkled into the album as well, and I think also other genre as well. And it's quite interesting listening to both of the albums because Channel Orange, it's a much more an emotional experience. It sounds fantastic, but the songwriting and what Frank Ocean is talking about, talking about people that suffer from drug addiction or reckon like Bad Religion, being, I believe, gay or gay or sort of not feeling, loved, and then wanting to be accepted by a religion, but the religion not accepting you, and you feeling, and that being a bad religion. I think I sort of got some of it. I think I sort of explained the best I could about the gist of it. It's just that it's just what Frank Ocean is talking about. It's incredibly, deep deep stuff on the album as well. But you know, in Kaleidoscope Dream, on a record that like Where's the Fun in Forever, when you know it's just basically states by the title, where is the fun in forever? Imagine if we could live for however long we could live for. Miguel reaches those philosophical points there as well, and yeah, it's they're different in that way as well. But again, they're quite similar in terms of the R&B record. We're like Thinking About You or How Many Drinks. I mean, both of them probably could make the same record. They could make, if you swap them, they could make that record. And I think that's the point that we had earlier on when I was just mentioning how different you are, and you sort of brought up, you know, they are quite similar in a way. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, no. I was just gonna run the point. Yeah, no, I was saying earlier to you that just in terms of how these albums are similar, I think you know you can swap Frank for Miguel, and like both of these albums won't sound too different from each other.
Yeah,
I think both of them draw inspiration from similar influences, if that makes sense. You know, Miguel is very much an artist that has definitely, I wouldn't say he's expanded like elements of R&B, but he definitely plays on a lot of different sounds. Like, he's not R&B artist. Same with
yeah.
And that's evident in numerous songs like Pyramids, obviously on Channel Orange, White, obviously featuring John Mayer. Obviously, shout out to John Mayer. Those strings that he plays in the background of that record are beautiful. Forrest Gump, you know, and then obviously you go on Kaleidoscope Dream.
Lost, I think Lost is a fantastic example of that. Like Lost is not an R&B song at all. 100%. But yeah, go on, sorry.
No, 100%. And then you know you have Where's this Fun in Forever, which you mentioned.
With Miguel.
Yeah. There's definitely different elements to all of those records, and that's why I feel like those two artists are the same in that aspect. And I think maybe the only difference between these two albums are the fact, I think with Channel Orange, I think you mentioned this point before, like it tackles more subjects.
Yeah.
I think the Kaleidoscope Dream is mostly about love, you know.
100%. Yeah.
But obviously on Channel Orange, like you have songs, like Super Rich Kids, you know, Not Just the Money, Bad Religion. I think you mentioned that one. And you also have, I think, Crack Rock.
Yeah. Phenomenal song, man. Phenomenal song.
Yeah. Which is a phenomenal song in it, which obviously he's talking about, you know, that's a crack addict. Obviously that's got lost in the substance. But I think Channel Orange is a lot more deeper. Like it tackles a lot more different subjects. And obviously Frank Ocean's songwriting is phenomenal. I think
100%, man. It's devastating, fam. It's emotionally devastating stuff, man.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best songwriters in the game, hands down.
100%. Like I'm putting him up there with like fucking better than fucking Nas or something. Like, give me names, man. Give me names, bro. He's phenomenal, bro.
He's definitely up there. Like he's a phenomenal songwriter. To be able to talk about topics like this, but make it sound so beautiful, like, elegant.
And I literally was thinking about that, like, yo, this guy on an R&B neo soul record, like, this guy is talking about people who have crack addiction, but name me which other artists in the history of the game. I'm talking about from people like Stevie Wonder, like, name me legacy artists, fam, that's gone as deep and as empathetic to people that come from, you know, those situations, fam. Like, it's phenomenal, fam. I can't lie. Like, there's just, every time I hear some of the, and I think that's also one of the reasons, like when we talk about the replay, Riley, why I don't play Channel Orange for me that much is because this album for me is just, it's emotionally a lot. Do you get me? And it's like, I can't spin it as much because it's just like it's jaw-dropping stuff. Do you get me? But anyway, go, sorry.
No, you're right, bro. You're right. I mean, to be fair, I think there's one song on Kaleidoscope Dream where he's tackling where Miguel's tackling something other than love. I think
Oh
it's
yeah, no. I know which record you're talking about. Hold on.
yeah. But
Like
it's like
candles in the sun.
Candles
Candles
in
in
the
the
Sun,
sun.
It's like,
Yeah,
where
that's
are
a
we
very good song
going?
as well. I
Like,
like candles in the sun. Yeah.
Like that record is definitely political.
Yeah.
So to be fair, yeah, Miguel does tackle, a subject other than love, but obviously he does it for the majority of the album.
Yeah. I mean, he's got record on there 100%. I mean, he's got record. He's got record put it that doesn't just talk about love, and it is. But like what you're saying, the perspective on Frank Ocean is much wider and much greater. But one thing I give credit for Miguel is that he manages to include records like Candles in the Sun, The Thrill, and Where's the Fun in Forever, fam. And I think Don't Look Back and Use Me are kind of in that mode as well. So he doesn't stick to the R&B-esque formula. And again, it's not just an R&B album, so that kind of makes sense of why he doesn't just stick to talking about love throughout all of it. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, but even so, even when Miguel's talking about love, like again, like
it's phenomenal, fam. It's phenomenal, fam.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal, fam.
Yeah. We have to give Miguel his love as well, like.
But a record like Adorn is oh my god. Oh my god, man!
It's different. Like I think the two sort of standout records in both of these albums are, Thinking About You and Adorn. Like those. Are
what in terms of like?
Like not just in terms of the like. If you ask the majority of people like which two songs,
they will pick.
Yeah, I think it will.
Be they are quite the popular record, but for me, I can't. Like if I had to pick
the general consensus, bro.
Oh, you mean general consensus? Yeah, I think general consensus. I think general consensus probably would go by that. I think for me personally, like, it'll be a different answer. But I mean, like even the record like Do You, like, oh my god, it's just it's just beautiful. It's just so angelic, bruv. Like I was telling you when we were having this conversation, bruv, Miguel was one of the greatest singers of all time, man.
I'm not even of this generation.
Yeah, of all time, flying. I do not care. Name me names. And of course, there's been fantastic singers that like jaw-droppingly, but the way he layers his vocals, the backing vocals, fam, and like the way he applies his vocals, bruv, is just so beautiful. And the record like Do You, fam, is like he hits those notes perfectly. It's like someone singing on top of the mountain, fam, and everyone's just watching him in awe. Like he's phenomenal, fam. He's phenomenal.
100%. Both of these artists are definitely generational artists. 100%. Like and they definitely showcase it on each of these albums. In terms of your listening experience, Kay. This is part of the Sonics. Like how was your listening experience for both of these albums?
It's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. I think obviously Channel Orange is like flat out flawless. I mean, it's sort of like, it fits like a film. Like each record is perfectly placed alongside with the interlude as well. And it goes from different sort of like moods and topics. While with Kaleidoscope Dream, I just find it odd that Adorn is the first song on the album. It's a phenomenal record, but I feel like a record like Don't Look Back usually sounds as the first record, and maybe a record like Use Me, maybe somewhere like the record like number 8 or number 9. Do you get me? So I find that very odd. Listening to the album, and also those two records are not my favorite songs on the album. I think they're good songs, but I don't think they're amazing. But with Kaleidoscope Dream, everything sort of flows phenomenally as well. And I mean, and again, we already talked about some of the songwriting. Like everything is just phenomenal. Even a record like Pink Matter, fam. He's just like, he's 100% one of my favorite artists of all time. It's not, there's no question. But Channel Orange just has a much better, smoother listen. While Kaleidoscope Dream, Adorn is phenomenal, and then the first two is a bit but then after that, it just goes into this purple patch mode of absolute flawlessness with beautiful records after beautiful records after beautiful records. So what's your listening experience with both of them?
Similar to you, like I think Channel Orange is flawless from top to bottom. Like from the first song to the last song, like it doesn't take your foot off your neck. Like that makes sense. Like it's just constant, amazing song after amazing song. And I think the way it was sequenced is very clever. and you go through a range of emotions when you're listening to Channel Orange. And I definitely like the variation. You know me, like I'm a variation type of guy in it. Like I like, when people sort of like do different things, like it obviously has to make sense. You can't just, you can't just put like in terms of sequencing is very important in an album. You can't just put like any song anywhere and it makes sense.
I think it will work because it will just stop that listening space. I'm to agree,
yeah. It still needs to make sense, and I feel like Channel Orange does that perfectly. Whereas with Kaleidoscope Dream, like you're right, like the first song of Dawn, like that's this like wow, like
yeah, it's phenomenal.
It's a phenomenal. The first song of Dawn is a phenomenal record, but I think there's a couple of moments during the first part of the album that I'm like, okay, it's a bit of a, I wouldn't even say downer, because I still like Use Me, and I still like Do You is one of the best records on here.
No, it's one of the phenomenal record,
but I think like the second record was a miss for me.
Oh yeah, Don't Look Back, yeah.
I think that was a bit of a momentum killer.
Yeah, I agree.
But then it starts to pick up again.
Yeah.
Like you said before, it has like a 5 or 6 song purple patch.
Yeah.
The
song 2 and 3, like okay, they're good, but then after that is just my God. You get me? Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. So, and like I think with Kaleidoscope Dream, the majority of the songs, like we discussed before, are about love. About love, but it's like the way Miguel does it. It's weird. Like they're all about love, but then you wouldn't think they're all about love. You know what I mean? You wouldn't think. But then when you actually like, let's say if you go onto Genius, or let's say you go onto Google and you sort of like read all of the lyrics to all of the songs, like they're essentially talking about the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And the subject of love. But Miguel sort of doesn't, in terms of like how the songs are sequenced. You wouldn't really think that, but I definitely feel like, just in terms of my listening experience, man, I think I got more from Channel Orange than I did from Kaleidoscope Dream, even though Kaleidoscope Dream is phenomenal. And the majority of the songs, I think there was only 2 songs that I didn't like off of that album, or that I didn't really care for. But obviously with Channel Orange, like it's practically every song that I fuck with. And again, I just love the storytelling of Frank. Like,
it's mad. It's crazy. It's fun. It's madness. Like what does it say? It's only him. Like, it's like the years of listening to music and the amount of artists that come in the game, and you listen to the album, like it's so unique what he's doing. It's mad. It's mind-boggling, fam. It's mind-boggling. Like what he thought about. Like he really thought about meticulously what this album is going to be. Do you get me? And that is phenomenal, fam. That's phenomenal about Frank Ocean.
So our next segment, in terms of replay value, K, who gets this one, in your opinion? Like, what album do you play more?
Kaleidoscope Dream. And Kaleidoscope Dream gets more replay value. And it's not because I don't think Frank Ocean's Channel Orange is the better album. I do believe that if we had to compare. But with Kaleidoscope Dream, and what I love it so much, and what makes it easy to play and listen to is just the records like Do You, where it's just pure happiness, man, pure joy and pure beauty, fam. Just the sheer beauty of it is just overpowering, and it's just so much pleasant to continuously listen to than a record like Channel Orange that goes so deep, and it's just like, oh my God. But don't get me wrong, with Channel Orange, he has phenomenal, like Sierra Leone, for example, Pilot Jones, which is amazing, Forrest Gump, of course. But yeah, Kaleidoscope Dream, man. Even the title record, Kaleidoscope Dream, with that bass line. We were talking about it just now as well, Henry. Like before we were shooting this, the bass line as well, fam. Like it's just so inviting, fam. So yeah, for me, Kaleidoscope Dream gets replay value. And also another record as well, Gravity, bro. Gravity. Talking about love in such a way, fam. Do you get me, fam? And again, I think that's also another record that has a serious bass line to it as well, kind of similar to Kaleidoscope Dream. Or have I mixed them? Not to Doom. No, I think it's the drum. Yeah, I think it's similar sort of opening with a bass line. I think Kaleidoscope Dream had just more drums in it in the beginning, while with Gravity has just a more groovier bass line. So yeah, Kaleidoscope Dream for me. What about you, H?
Okay, do you know what? Boy, this is going to be a bit controversial, but I have to probably agree with you. You know, like this in terms of like the Reaper Valley. Like, what album do I play more? Even though I feel like China Orange, you know, is the better album sonically. I actually do play Kaleidoscope Dream more, and that's because, like we've touched on, you need to be in a certain mood, I think, to listen to Channel Orange. You know, it's not like an easy listen, if that makes sense. Like you have to be in a certain mood, but with Kaleidoscope Dream, like you don't really have to be in a certain mood to play it, and you know, it's easier to sort of digest, if that makes sense. Over the years, I think initially I used to play Channel Orange more, but I think as time goes by, I find myself playing Kaleidoscope Dream more, if that makes sense. Like I find myself actively going on my playlist and searching for Kaleidoscope Dream, as opposed to Channel Orange, even though, in my opinion, Channel Orange is the better album. Which is pretty strange. I can't really put my finger on it, but I had to be honest. I can't like I had to be honest and just think, because I had to think long and hard about this one. And then I came to the conclusion that I do play, and even like the records on Kaleidoscope Dream, I play them more than I do with Channel Orange. Does that make sense?
Repeat that.
Records. So basically, essentially, what I'm trying to say is like, I play more of the records on Kaleidoscope Dream than I do on Channel Orange. So like I play, like you'll hear me listening to like Adorn quite a lot. Do You, Kaleidoscope Dream, How Many Drinks, Pussy Is Mine. Like I will go back to those songs more than I would do.
100. I understand your point. I understand your point. Yeah.
And I'm working on some of the records on Channel Orange. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I agree. I understand. I agree with your point. And I think what you're saying has nothing to do with quality, really. No, I think like you're saying, it's just the mood you're in, isn't it?
It's the mood that I'm in. You know, it's just the mood that I'm in. But yeah, it's just the mood. It's purely based on the mood that I'm in, not based on the quality. You know what I mean? Like. But it's mad. I would have to go with Kaleidoscope Dream for this one. Moving on to our last segment of the episode, we're going to be talking about the cultural impact of both of these albums. So okay, which album do you feel like had a bigger cultural impact?
Oh, interesting. I feel like both albums had significant cultural impact in terms of expanding what alternative R&B should be like. I think Frank Ocean is like a massive pioneer, man. Like without Frank Ocean, you can argue that there is no template for SZA. Do you get me? Like he's
Givian or
or Givian or them one. But but for like he allowed for great greater genres in alternative R&B. But I feel like Kaleidoscope Dream kind of probably, it's interesting. I'm not maybe it might be a long throw, but maybe Channel Orange, or not Channel Orange, sorry, but what Frank Ocean was doing earlier on with Nostalgia Ultra did somehow influence Miguel in terms of the experiment and the choices that he ended up making. I'm not sure. Maybe that's a reach, but
no, that's not a reach, because before, I think, sorry to disinterrupt you.
Yeah, it was just pure R&B. Yeah.
It was just pure like his first album, All I Want Is You. There were some elements of, you know, like rock and stuff in the album, but it was mainly R&B. So I think Frank coming out at the time that he did with Nostalgia Ultra, I feel like that kind of influenced Miguel to go down the route he did with Kaleidoscope Dream. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But it's also quite super interesting, because I could probably argue, I think, in terms of like expanding more on alternative R&B, I feel like I'm going back on myself, but I feel like his mixtape probably did that way more than Channel Orange. Because, yeah, I think Channel Orange 100% has that with some of the records, but it was more of a nod to the past, but still contemporary, don't get me wrong, with the sound, with what Frank Ocean was doing. Well, with Nostalgia Ultra, that is like alternative R&B. But nonetheless, I feel like he, not just an alternative R&B space, but I just feel like in terms of like proper musicianship, do you get me? And being like artists or urban artists or even artists in general creating great albums, because that was the period of time, I think, from the 2010s up until like now, when it's like, now it's more like, you know, urban, like black artists, you know, producing phenomenal amount of brilliant music. Do you get me? Like I think it kind of dwindled in the mid to late 2000s. Do you get me? He kind of dwindled, and I feel like he brought that real musicianship back to the forefront, and amongst other things as well that I can't really remember as well at the present moment as well. But I think also the same thing with Miguel as well, man. And also, I feel like with records like Thinking About You and like How Many Drinks and Adorn You, like Miguel 100% like literally pushed up R&B bar this high. Like I still like, I always, every time when I talk to you about this album, I think records like How Many Drinks and Adorn You are easily one of the greatest R&B records ever created. And I don't think it's just hypeable. I just feel like the production, the singing, the songwriting, name me like, even if you can name it from Usher, Trey Songz, Chris Brown's, fam, none of them can execute it with that level of soul and just like beauty and just straightforwardness. Like, it's just like what he reached on that album for me, like, is phenomenal, man. And I think that's why these two albums, I think we've reached about to 10 years. And I still feel like these are easily in my favorite list of all time. So I can't like above that. But like, and one last thing before I let you go, H, is that I was gonna say again, like, you know, yeah, every time I keep talking about like how much I'm not so happy about Miguel's early work, or not early work, Miguel's later on work, the albums they coming out recently, and I keep references to Kaleidoscope Dream. That's just how much admiration I've had for this album, fam. So yeah, man, that's just my piece on it. What about you, H?
No, bro. I think I hear you on that one. I think in terms of who had the bigger cultural impact, I definitely think it was Frank, but not by a landslide. But I definitely think that he sort of he set the template, you know, because he was doing his thing before Miguel was. Like, he was on the scene before Miguel was, and obviously the type of stuff that he was doing with Odd Future was like very experimental. Like, you know, at that period of time, man, he was definitely experimenting with a lot of sounds. And he was doing things that, you know, no R&B artist was doing at the time.
100%.
What type of male R&B artist was making the type of music Frank was making?
100%.
You know, nobody. Even when Miguel first came on the scene, like I said, you know, he wasn't making the type of R&B music that he made on Kaleidoscope Dream.
100%.
It was mostly contemporary R&B. So Frank was the only one in that lane. You know?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
You know, and again, with a lot of these new R&B artists or alternative R&B artists like Givey and Brent Fias, like a lot of them would have definitely been influenced by Frank.
100%. Like, he's sorry to cut you off shortly there, but like he's like, the more I think about it and everything that you're saying, this guy, he's a massive pioneer. Like, in terms of shifting R&B forward, and his earlier stuff, I think as he sort of progressed, I think he became in more genres and different genres. But if we look at Nostalgia Ultra alone, fam, it's just like, yo, who was doing what he was doing at that period of time? And it's just no one. Like a record like Novocaine, you're not hearing Trey songs on Novocaine. Bob, no, absolute no way, fam. But yeah, go on, H.
No, bro. It's easy. I think, you know what, you hit the nail right in the head. Frank Ocean is a genre-less artist, you know. He's a genre-less artist, and I feel like at that moment in time, yeah, you know, sort of contemporary R&B needed a spark.
100%.
Usher was not on the decline, but he had passed his peak. Obviously, Trey Songz was there. You know, Trey Songz was there, Chris Brown was there, but R&B needed another sort of, it needed to be taken to another level. And
yeah, to the next level, fam.
To the next level, yeah. No, it truly did. No, it needed to be taken to the next level, because I think the sound was coming very redundant.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. I do agree with you on
it's
that.
like Frank was literally the savior,
Yeah, I do agree with you. I do agree with that.
He took R&B to to the next level. He took R&B to the next level, and he definitely he pushed the boundaries, man.
100%, man. 100%. He did.
R&B needed it. It needed it. So yeah, I definitely feel like this one goes to Frank. I can't even lie.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you, to Frank. But that's 100%.
Even look at the album cover, like the Channel Orange album cover.
Yeah.
That shit is pretty iconic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty iconic. It's pretty iconic. So I'm gonna go with Frank with this one. Come to that part of the segment where we have to pick what album we prefer out of the two. Okay, I'm gonna go with you.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying Kaleidoscope Dream or Channel Orange.
Kaleidoscope Dream.
Well, I knew I was gonna say that anyway. So
I mean, Channel Orange is the better album. Like, if we made what makes an album great, Channel Orange ticks the box, and I do agree with everyone says. But Kaleidoscope Dream, simply for what I said in the beginning, is because I can play that when I'm in a great mood, and then you just enjoy to listen to. While with Channel Orange, it has those great mood songs, but majority of it is deep, reflective music that, of course, is very beautiful, introspective, and all those things as well. But Kaleidoscope Dream for me. What about you, H?
Cool. So even though I listen to Kaleidoscope Dream more, I'm gonna have to go with Channel Orange. And
okay, cool.
I was sort of I was going back and forth with this answer for time, innit? I think I definitely made my decision later on today when I listened to Channel Orange again, and I just realized how much of a
it's crazy. It's hard. It's amazing, fam.
It's one of my favorite albums of all time. But obviously, sometimes when you ain't listened to something in so long, you sometimes forget how great it is.
Yeah.
So obviously, I listened to the album from top to bottom, and I said to myself, "Nah, I've definitely got to pick Channel Orange, man, because this is just on another level. This is just like
No, sorry. I agree. Go on.
No. So the greatness of this album is definitely unprecedented. So
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And the brilliantness of Channel Orange is that he's stepping out of other genres. So he's punching up there with people like Prince's, Stevie Wonder's, fam. Who else is contemporary artists Kanye's, fam. And loads of artists that I think are great, and even artists I haven't sold very much for that I can't think of at this present moment in time. But he's up in those spaces, fam, and he's easily dibble-dabbling in all of these genres, executing them so flawlessly well, and it's able to bring things like Fertilizer or was it Lost that has this indie sort of rock vibe into it, fam, and then make it seem seamlessly fits so well with this whole soul and electro way. Yeah, Super Rich Kid as well. The story to the Super Rich Kid, brother, you know what it is? I just said, this is all it's all subjective when it comes to this one. Do you get me? 100% agree with everything I say, fam. Do you get me? 100% agree.
And just to play off that point, I think Frank did for R&B what Kanye did for rap.
Yeah.
I just literally thought about that point. Channel Orange did for R&B what College Dropout did for rap.
I will say Nostalgia Ultra did that.
Okay.
I will say Nostalgia Ultra did that. I'll say Nostalgia Ultra.
I think Channel Orange sort of that was the staple. That was okay, cool. I fully arrived in it, Oh
yeah, 100%. There was
Nostalgia Ultra. Obviously, that was an EP, so that was a little teaser to what Channel Orange was gonna be. But I feel like Channel Orange fully turned the corner.
Yeah, 100%. In terms of how is he actually a phenomenal artist, or is he not a one-hit wonder or something? Yeah, 100%. Channel Orange answered that fully, and then obviously with Blonde, which is for me, I think my favorite Frank Ocean album. Even though I can't agree with you that China Orange is the better album, but for other reasons that we're not gonna go into because he's making this video long because I love that album as much as well. Yeah, like he just like he's a one of a kind artist, man. Like he's one of a kind artist. Like Frank Ocean is those rare artists, yeah, that like when they come, and when they leave the mark, they'll leave the mark. And it's already left its mark already. Do you get me? And no one can dispute it. I mean, everyone, but if you ask people, general people, how many classics these guys have, no one's not gonna say Frank Ocean ain't got at least 2 classics. People will say Blonde is not a good album, but I argue people still will say it's a classic album, fam. Do you get me? Like he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal, man.
Yeah, and if they say Blonde, they'll say Nostalgia Ultra. So
yeah, 100%. Nostalgia Ultra classic as well, fam. I argue with anyone.
Yeah, no, facts. We have it, you know. I picked Channel Orange and K.
Kaleidoscope Dream, yeah.
Kaleidoscope Dream. But there's nothing really in it. I mean, these two albums are one of the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah, 100%.
You on it, we can have it.
100%, fam. I'll go on the comment section. You guys can comment.
Have a debate in the comment section. You know,
yeah,
these are the 2 of the greatest albums of all time. Period.
Yeah,
and we definitely need to give both of these artists and both of these albums their flowers.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but with that being said, you know, we want to know what you guys think.
Facts.
Do you prefer Channel Orange? Do you prefer Nostalgia Ultra? Let us know in the comment section below. And obviously like, comment, and subscribe, people, you know, so that we can carry on making content like this. We've got more episodes to come, so obviously stay locked in. And obviously me and Kay will be back again real soon. But until next time, peace.
Peace.